So we got two pieces of news to cover today here on the Transformers Slag podcast, and the first one is an update to our Transformers Haslab item, our Transformers Robots in Disguise 2001 car robots, Omega Prime. So just not too long ago, it has passed the 13,000 mark for getting backers of this item, and by passing the 13,000 mark, it now unlocks Tier 1 for this item, meaning we now get the Gotofaya sword, or the Sword of Primus, or the Omega sword, whatever you want to call it, had many names. So that will be included with the item, guaranteed. The next tier is going to be at 16,000, so we still have a good, under 3,000 to go to reach that one, which unlocks the Global Space Bridge, road pieces, Cybertron net, the little stands that are included with it. And hopefully, I hope that there's some kind of secret tier 3 that'll all make this worthwhile in the end. There's still 27 days left and a couple hours, at least on my end here as of this recording. So let's see what happens with that, and we'll keep you posted as this goes on and on. The big one we're going to talk about today in terms of news is last year in April of 2023, we talked about here on the podcast about how Mattel and Hasbro were going to be doing a lot of merger projects together to strengthen the toy aisle in these, tough times for the toy industry and or otherwise help each other out instead of just being rivals. And part of that discussion was a lot of branding with their two brands together. And one of them was, and these have come out since, was like they were going to do a Barbie branded Monopoly board, so Barbie being a Mattel brand, Hasbro's Monopoly being the foundation of that, and thus that had come out since. There was going to be a Transformers Uno card set, so again, Transformers the Hasbro brand, and Uno being the Mattel thing, so those kind of things, and that came out, and that's out in stores right now. But one that is not out yet, but now we have some updates on information, maybe even a little more that hasn't been public yet. And it's that of the Transformers Hot Wheels line that they've talked about. And I speculated, wow, this could be really big for them in a lot of ways. So, Transformers and die-cast has an interesting history. We haven't had a Hasbro-created Transformers die-cast line in quite a while. I mean, the first time we really got that was that RPMs line that later evolved into Speedstars from 2009 to 2011. And that was just kind of Hasbro's reaction to what was going on with Mattel, because Mattel had the Pixar Cars license. They were doing that die-cast line that they did in late 2006. And that exploded in sales and popularity. And Hasbro's like, hey, we got sentient cars. Why don't we make die-casts of our sentient cars? And that's what the RPM line was. And, there was 100 different releases, and it ended in 2011. So it clearly had some kind of success to keep going. And they were pretty cool. I collected a lot of them. And then afterwards, Hasbro just kind of licensed out the Transformer name to other die-cast car companies and let them do the work, like Jada Toys that we have today, and even the Micro Machines brand that they have, they licensed out along with Transformers to Wicked Cool Toys and beyond. I could go on and on. But it looks like now we got this Transformers Hot Wheels collaboration, and we now have, through different Hot Wheels collector websites, the very first case assortment, we believe. I'm going to get into some other stuff here. So we have this Transformers case assortment, 1x64 scale, standard Hot Wheels scale, 24-piece box, standard for most Hot Wheels, special edition kind of stuff. And we have 5 different releases in this case of 24 pieces. 4 of these characters are 5 per case, and 1 is the 4 per case, which is that more chase one. Oh, there's 1 less in the case. And before I get into what is in this case, I want to talk about how Hot Wheels usually tackles their licensing of certain stuff, because they kind of go about it different ways. One way that they could go about it is they'll make brand new molds completely based on those licenses and put them out there. Kind of like what they do with Super Mario Kart. These are brand new molds made specifically for that brand, and that is that. We might do some repaints, but in general, these were made for that. Sometimes they take existing molds that exist from their library and try to paint them to look like those classic characters. They've done that in the past with Marvel and DC and He-Man and others. And then sometimes they take existing molds that aren't getting much play or much use at all, and then kind of just put the branding of whatever it is on the side. You know, take a bread delivery truck from the 70s and put Marvel's Black Widow on the side and call it a day. It's like you get really, I don't want to call them lazy, but definitely one way for them to make the use of their molds. And Hot Wheel is the king of taking a mold and repainting it thousands of times over 30 years. Like, you think Transformers has done it, you know, this brand has been doing it for way longer. Mattel is the king of that. And judging by this list here that we have, which we're going to go through, it looks like they're probably going to be taking pre-existing molds that are already out there, outside of the ones that, you know, don't really scream a pre-existing character. And they're going to probably just throw, you know, on the flat of the side of it, Optimus Prime or Starscream or Jazz. Just, you know, that's the vibe I get. And I'll tell you why, because you give me your opinion on this. So the first one in this case assortment is HRV 58. HRV, by the way, is the code for the assortments. A 1932 Ford. And I'll put on the screen the mold that's the 1932 Ford from Hot Wheels. Yeah, that's not really going to be much of anything. You could probably stretch it and go into like the Hot Wheels Micromaster, Hot Rod Patrol Micromasters. But at the end of the day, I feel like that one, along with a lot of the others that I'm going to list, are going to be more just, hey, let's take these molds and then put characters' faces or names or emblems on the side and call it a day. The other one here, we have the Morris Mini, kind of the same story. The 60s Fiat 500D, the 1967 Austin minivan. None of these really scream Transformers in a lot of ways, unless you're really stretching it. The very last one, which oddly enough is also the chase one and the short-packed one, Volkswagen Classic Beetle. It's pretty obvious what that one's going to be. But I feel even that one there, they might put like Bumblebee's face on the roof or something. They're going to do something similar to, like I said, with that Black Widow or what they've done in the past. But I do have a little bit of a deeper thought about this, because when I started looking into the case assortments of the HRV, and it starts with 58 and ends with 62 with these 5 releases, there actually is HRV listings for 2024 that aren't yet out yet, that are also, you know, in listing form and computer listing form. And you have an HRV 43, that's a second story lorry, an HRV 38, that's a Sakura Sprinter, an HRV 41, that's a Fleet Flyer, and an HRV 47, that's a 66 Porsche 906 Carrera. I'm going to put those on the screen. You tell me who those characters could potentially be repainted into. It's pretty obvious. But at the end of the day, I don't think we're going to get what we think we're going to get in terms of Transformers and die-cast like we've seen from, let's say, again, Jada and some other companies that are more, you know, replicas of those characters. These are more just probably pop culture interpretations with branding on them, which, again, something that Hot Wheels has done for quite a few years now. So just a little take on that. Again, let me know what you think. It is a little bit of a bummer, but maybe there's a glimmer of hope in this. We will see what happens. Again, this is really something that Hasbro and Mattel have been talking about since last year, and that's probably how they just want to go about it. Not, you know, maybe they don't want to also upset their other licensors that are doing something similar like Jada. Who knows? But it is what it is. Let me know what you think, and we'll talk again really soon on the Transformer Slag podcast. And thank you for listening.